So, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming on this Labor Day weekend. Is there anybody here for the first time? Oh. So what we usually do after our sitting, walking meditation on Sundays is have a Dharma talk, which is a presentation on some aspect of the Buddhist teaching, which is called the Dharma. And hopefully it is presented in a way that is helpful, practical, and not theoretical. But since there are new people here, is there anything before we begin with the talk that with the meditation this morning, sitting, walking, or anything that went on here in the last hour, if anybody has any questions about, please don't be shy. Anything not clear or not understood? Good. I hope that means that's the case and not that we're just shy or something. Good. So, well, let me just say something. This past Thursday, we started something new here on Thursday nights. Twice a month, there'll be these forums, and then twice a month, there'll be just extended periods of meditation between 7:15 and 9. And our forum that we had on Thursday dealt with the issue of sexuality. And it was, I think, a really good beginning. Because the object of these forums is, as opposed to our Sundays, which is a more traditional presentation of the Buddhist teaching, the idea behind the forums is then to take this understanding and to look at contemporary issues in a very open, non-dogmatic way, in a contemporary way, so we can really look at, over time, all the major issues, or a lot of the major issues, of social issues, political issues, etc., that are being discussed in our society or present in our society, and see, is there a better way to understand what's going on, both in terms of understanding in an intellectual or conceptual way, but also in a very practical way. So I think we had a good beginning, and I think many people who came felt that we had just kind of scratched the surface of really looking deeply, because we have such a highly sexualized society, and there's so many cross currents that it's important, and it's such a disturbing thing for so many people. Or a confusing thing for many people, that we're going to take more time. So we'll continue it in not this coming Thursday, but the following Thursday. We'll continue this exploration for the first time here. So what we have been dealing with now for many months in our community is looking at these fundamental teachings of the Buddha called the 5 hindrances and the 7 factors of awakening. And we are, in many different talks and meditations and retreats, we're trying to really not just intellectually understand them, but most importantly, understand how to practice them. And I know that most of the talks have been recorded, so for those of you who are new today and want some background, I'll give a little quick summary, but there's lots of information online. So the 5 hindrances and the 7 factors of awakening, they sort of relate to each other, right? The 5 hindrances really, or the 5 obscurations, really kind of answer the question is, what's really going on with me? What's really going on with people? And what's really what goes on in the world? Why isn't everybody happy? Why isn't everybody kind to one another? Why doesn't everybody have a calm, peaceful mind? Etc. Why is that? Because we all know, human beings have that capacity, and we know there has not been a lack of so-called religious or humanistic kind of teachings and philosophies for thousands of years that have promoted a mind free of all these, or a mind that promotes these kinds of positive attributes. So what hinders that? What obscures that? Why can't individuals live from this capacity they have, and why can't society, which is just a collection of individuals? So we've been looking at these 5 hindrances, these of the mind. Again, for those of you who knew, that is why today we meditate as opposed to a more traditional religious service, because in Buddhism, traditionally, going back to the Buddha, which is less a religion and more a way of living, it was very clear that since the source of human beings' happiness, or the source of their unhappiness, the source of their peace of mind or their agitation of mind, and the source of really the way they speak and the way they treat one another, it's all based on their minds. And so unless there's some fundamental way of seeing the mind clearly, whose mind? Our own mind. We are also, as you know, we are very good at seeing other people's minds. That's really our expertise. But we are less able to see our own mind, which is really where we should be looking. So what is it that prevents us from seeing our own mind and from acting from our best qualities? Are these hindrances, are these obscurations? It's like having cataracts, or like having a sight problem. We just don't, everything is kind of blurred or obscured or dark, or, we just can't see clearly. We can't see through our own stuff. And what's our own stuff? It's just this endless agitation of the mind. On the one hand, the mind is always seeking, grasping, needing, wanting, desiring. Always, out there in every area. On the other hand, on the other side, it's always pushing away and rejecting and avoiding and having aversion to and being negative about, just back and endlessly going, wanting, needing, pushing away. And then this causes, not only this causes the mind always to be agitated, but it is very disturbing in relationships and everything else, all aspects of life. And then, of course, that creates a mind that's very excitable, that's very agitated, that's very distracted, that's kind of hyper a lot. And on the other hand, that creates a mind that's kind of depressed or lethargic or always procrastinates or is kind of down. So this is what's going on all the time. Plus, the fifth one is doubt. We're always doubting ourselves, doubting what to do, doubting there's a way I can change. So if you put all this together in a recipe, it's a recipe for. I was about to say disaster, but not everybody is like that. But it's certainly if one is cultivating and has cultivated throughout their life these kinds of obscuring kind of mind states. And again, what are they obscuring? They're obscuring this wondrous capacity we have to be happy, to be free, to be at ease, to have a calm mind, to be compassionate, to be, just a wakeful human being, living a life of meaning. So these obscurations need to be identified as that, because most of us, we identify these obscurations and these hindrances as us. We can't see beyond them. It's like somebody who never knew about glasses, who's always been, has had cataracts, or is short-sighted or long-sighted, or it's like we think, oh, this is just the way things, things are always blurry. And we think this is natural and normal, and we don't realize, no, this is not. Many of us have had that experience where you go to the optometrist, and they give you the right thing, and all of a sudden you go, wow, this is kind of wonderful. Everything is kind of clear, and things have color, and you can actually see what people look like, and read things. So it's like that. Don't make it too mystical. Don't make it too esoteric. It's just, we want to see clearly what's really going on. So again, these hindrances, these obscurations have to be identified so we can have some objectivity about them, and we can learn to work with them in a skillful way. But really, the majority of our activity is on the side of the 7 factors of awakening, which are these characteristics, these attributes of an awakened mind, of an enlightened mind. They have come down to us for thousands of years as attributes of mind that we need to be, that we should really be cultivating. And if we are cultivating them and putting lots of energy into that, then healing and transformation and enlightenment, will naturally unfold, because these are the natural characteristics of an awakened mind. And we have been looking at the first one as being mindfulness, what we did this morning. Because if we are not mindful, if we're not aware, if we cannot see, we won't tell the difference. We won't even know that our sight is obscured, right? If we are not mindful of what's going on in our mind, if we are not mindful of our thoughts, if we're not mindful of our feelings, if we have no objectivity or capacity to have some distance from them so we can name them, then we are just always, whatever emotion, whatever mood, whatever comes up, whatever thought appears, whatever story starts going in our mind, about this one or that one, or about myself or my past or my future, then produces all that emotionality. We just go with it, right? Because we have no mindfulness, we have no capacity to just see what's going on, right? So that's why even this morning, for those of you who are new, we are cultivating mindfulness by learning to know what? That I'm sitting here. That this is where my life is right now. It's not in the past. It's not whatever fabricated story or drama or melodrama or expectation or fantasy that my mind wants to generate. That's not reality, is it? That's not true. That's just mental fabrication. What's true is what is going on right now. So mindfulness opens up the doors to what is really happening right now in life. It allows us to see ourselves more clearly, and it allows us to see others more clearly. Again, even though we live with other people, we work with other people, we're intimate with other people, we do not see them. We see them through what? Obscurations. Right? We see them through our hindrances, so we don't even see other people, even people we love. We don't see them because our mind is endlessly fabricating stories, and we believe the stories are real, and we don't see what's right in front of us. We don't see that things are always impermanent. Things are always passing. So even any incident that we may be upset about has already passed. Right? The only way we could stay upset is by what? We need to continually manufacture it in our minds, and it's the same way about the future. So mindfulness, and again, we've talked about it many times, is kind of the first and probably the most important foundation to cultivating an awakened view, an awakened life. Is that clear? And that is why in the sitting, in the walking, and as most importantly, throughout the day, learning just to be present. This is the wonderful thing about this practice. It is not airy-fairy. It is not something extra. It is not something you need to really manufacture. It's just something that is right here. And we are learning to let go of all the stuff so we can just be present. Present to each other, present to life, present to flowers, present to, what's going on right in front of us. Often what's going on right in front of us, for most of us that don't live in war zones or famine or places like that, what's going on right in front of us is okay. Right? We're just going through life, right? Dealing with things. So, basically life is just what it is, and all we have to do is deal with it. But if we don't see that, we are lost in our dramas about life, which we think are real. So that is why mindfulness is so important. And then last week we talked about the second factor of investigation, which is investigation. Looking deeply. And this is so important. Again, mindfulness, as I often say, is just turning on the light. It's like being in a dark room and you really can't see anything, or you see everything very in an obscured way. So you don't know where you really are, and you don't know, what's in the room. So you're always kind of bumping into things or tripping over things, or, that's kind of like the way a lot of us lead life. We don't see things until we bump into it. We don't see what's going on until we fall over it, right? So we're always picking ourselves up, and it's only afterwards we go, oh, I didn't realize there was a piece of furniture there. That's why I bumped myself. So mindfulness turns on the light. Investigation is looking to what is seen, but looking deeply. We need to look under the surface to see what's really going on within myself, within others. That takes mindfulness, that takes the willingness to stop, and the willingness to ask questions. Right? Whether it's in relationship, to ask somebody, why did you do what you did? Right? I'm curious. Why did you do what you did? Why do you feel the way you do? It's an attitude in life that's really based on curiosity and interest, rather than always confirming and reaffirming our own view, right? Because most of the time we are more interested in telling the person what we think is really going on with them, or what they did or didn't do, and so we're endlessly reaffirming our view and often our mistaken, rather than willing to stop and investigate by being curious. We should be curious about our own mind. Why does my mind work the way it does? Why do these type of mind states arise in me? Why do these emotions arise in me? Why sometimes am I peaceful and calm, and other times why am I agitated? Why am I sometimes a very benevolent or kind human being, and then oftentimes I'm just a raging maniac, right? You see what I'm saying? We need to stop, be mindful, and to investigate ourselves. And again, I think it's a wonderful thing. It would be wonderful if our politicians and other, also stopped to look at world events and go, what is the cause of this? Why do people do what they do? Because when you investigate, and you're willing to investigate, whether in a very personal or interpersonal, societal way, you will uncover the real causes of why things are the way they are, and that really gives us the opportunity of acting skillfully and wisely, because we get at the source of things. Right. Oftentimes, even in our own life, we just go from experience to experience, crisis to crisis, working through it, but we don't learn anything, because we don't come from a place which goes, why is any of this going on in my mind? And again, starting where we just began earlier, it is because of these hindrances. There is something that's preventing us from seeing clearly what's going on, accepting it with understanding, and working with it skillfully, which is really all life ever calls from us. All the other stuff we do is just our own fabricated thought, story, and then emotionality. So I'm giving this all sort of in a thumbnail sketch. And we, again, in the Dharma talk last week, investigation was looked at more deeply. The next one, I thought it was interesting because today is Labor Day weekend. It's what is usually this next factor of awakening. So so the mind that is more and more with the capacity to be mindful and present and aware, where life is looked at in this investigatory, curious, interested way. And these are all attributes of an awakened mind. Okay? The third one on this side, there are 7 altogether, it may be called diligence, or energy directed in a certain way. And I thought it was interesting, it came to me, that being that this is Labor Day, we live in a society where diligence, energetic application, discipline, most people know it in terms of what? Work. Right? I mean, we love to work. We love to put hours and hours and hours and hours into our work. Right? And when we get together, we like to tell everybody else how many hours we're putting in. Right? And you put 10, you work 10 hours a day. Well, I work 12. Right? So we are very, it is, so it's interesting. In terms of work, diligence and high energy and application and all that is very prized, and people are willing to generate it in their work. Whether for positive or negative reasons, whether it's whether it's because they really want something out of it, such as promotion or good reviews, or to make more money, or whether they get a personal kind of satisfaction from working, which is certainly there. We are used to putting a lot of again, energy, right, and discipline. We're willing to curtail distractions or putting our energies or interests in other places because we know there is something, a job to get done, right? There's something to be accomplished. Does everybody know what we're talking about? So behind that is a certain kind of energy, which we, which we do our best to create ourselves, and if we can't, we do what? We drink a lot of coffee, other kinds of things, because why? Because you want to keep the energy up, right? We got a lot to do. So again, I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying this is, in our society, this seems to be the way where we understand it. So it's interesting coming to this mind side, this spiritual side of these factors of awakening, that here energy is also considered one of the prime necessities for living an awakened life, for healing the places in us that are wounded, that need to be healed, for transforming these obscurations, these hindrances, into factors of enlightenment, so we can truly manifest our potential. When it comes to this side of our life, has anybody noticed the meditative life, the spiritual life, my spiritual aspiration, my desire for healing and transformation? We are often less than energetic. We are often much less than energetic. We are often what? Lazy. That's one way of putting it. How else? What? Anybody else? What? Forgetful. What? Lack of discipline. Sloppy, indifferent. Stop and go. We do a little here, then we don't. Then we don't. Well, I meditated today. I can take a break for the next 3. Many people could be coming here today and going, wow, 2 hours, that'll keep me for about 3 weeks. This is just, right? And this is just the truth. So many people say, I know I should meditate, or I know I should do more of this, and, stop and smell the roses, blah, blah, blah. But I'm what? I'm too busy. But if you look at what that means, it means I'm too busy putting my energy somewhere else. And we have to stop and go. I understand, there may be all reasons why we're doing it, but at the end of the day, what does that produce for me? Right, what does that produce for me? Yeah, and so we need to stop and really look at this whole area of energy and self-discipline, and how do I, if in my moments of sanity, in my moments of wisdom, in my moments of self-awareness and reflection, I say, I want to be a happier human being. I want to be more open-hearted. I want to be more relaxed. I want to be more at ease. I want to be wiser. I really want to be able to be of more benefit, not only to myself, but to the people in my life and my society. And I know that has to do with I have to, transform myself. A lot of us have stuff that we've just been carrying around with us for years, right? And it's something, we'll get to, or it's something we make little attempts at. But where's our energy? When we stop and say, what it is in life that gives me real happiness? What is in life that really gives meaning to my life? What is it in life, that really contributes to my well-being? And if we can identify that clearly, then the question is, why am I not energetic, disciplined, consistent, persistent, right? In supporting that in my life. Is that clear? This is an important question that we often. That's why I think this energy is so important, because we could have everything else, but if our energetic application is lacking, we can have all the tools, but we'll never master them. We can have the instrument in front of us, right? We could be a violinist, and we could have a Stradivarius right in front of us. And yet, if we don't pick it up and do it persistently, we will never be able to make any beautiful music. Right? So we need to look deeply into this understanding about energy and why it is not present in my life and how to generate it. And again, I'm talking about in a general way, in a more specific way in Buddhist teachings. It's often described as kind of a specific kind of energy, which is not in this larger sense that I'm talking, but it also means more specifically in terms of my own mind. Am I energetic in not arousing negative mind states? That's interesting. Am I really energetic? Am I really watching my mind and putting a lot of energy into making sure that I'm not cultivating, afflictive mind states? Whether they be thoughts, repetition of stories, emotionality, the way I speak to people, or in my actions, am I energetic in that? And secondly, when these things have arisen in me, and often they do arise in us because of habit energy. It's not always that we are cultivating them. But when they have arisen, am I energetic? Do I put energy into moving them quickly out of the mind, away, right? Or do I just, repeat, cultivate, say and do things that just strengthen them? So this using energy in relationship to these afflictive mind states is a more specific application. But even more important, am I energetic in arousing what might be called positive mind states? Am I very consciously energetic in arousing, let's say, for example, patience? Right? Does anybody in this room ever find that they get impatient, they get frustrated, they get irritated? Are those mind states that anybody here has ever experienced? Yeah, many of us think this is just normal, right? Yeah, you go through the day and you're irritated at this, and you're a little pissed at that, and you're a little frustrated with that, and you're a little, and that's just like normal life. We don't say, no, these are afflictive mind states. They're just anger and ill will, just kind of at a lower heat, right? So again, are we energetic in when these mind states have arisen in moving them out? So we cultivating, am I actively cultivating patience? And the way we actively cultivate patience is by understanding. Right? When we understand a situation clearly, taking a moment to investigate it, right? That impatience, that irritation will just very quickly dissipate if we take the time, right? Do you believe me? I mean, does anybody think that their irritation, I'm just using that, or even their anxieties, their worries, are somehow so deeply entrenched in their mind that an application of some kind of intervention would not quickly change the situation? Anybody disagree? Please disagree. If you think it's the case. What? You disagree. Good. What do you disagree with?
In certain scenarios, that application of intervention needs some time and space within you to work. Right? It might take a minute. It might take a second. It might take 5 deep breaths.
Right.
In a scenario where you can't get that space, when you can't apply that intervention, then what?
Did everybody hear the question? So the question was, yeah, that sometimes work, but sometimes the situation is such that it doesn't seem capable of taking that step back or taking those deep breaths or kind of, and the irritation, the anger, the frustration has arisen. Again, is that, I would say, first of all, is that clearly on our gender? That when let's say we are working, we are realizing, oh yeah, somebody say, are you an angry person? No, I'm not an angry person. No. But you find that frustration, irritation, goes on a lot in your mind during the day. Oh yeah, well, I would say, yeah, you're just an angry person, but you keep it on low level, and it just takes a little bit of, higher intensity experience to just bring it up. So the first step is, I think, if one wanted to be, I'm not saying you, but just to be energetic, is first of all to be aware. Yeah, or maybe irritation, frustration is your thing. Somebody else, it could be worry. Again, a lot of people, worry, a little low-level anxiety, worry is always present, or a lot, and again, we think that's just normal. I'd call that fear. Somebody might say, well, I'm not a fearful person. Yeah, I have a lot of, low-level anxiety and worry, but, well, I'd call that fear. It may be low-level. In the same way with sadness, despair, these are all there. So, again, once we recognize that these are afflictions, and not quote-unquote normal, they're causing conditions why we've developed this way, but they're not normal. We weren't born this way, right? Anybody been around infants? They don't usually have a lot of anxiety, or they like to be changed regularly, fed, but otherwise they're pretty simple. So we want to be aware. So when we, let's say you're working on that, when you get up in the morning, you're aware. As I go through this day, I really want to not give vent to irritation, anger, so I'm going to be mindful of it. Right? I'm going to watch my mind. I can go through my day. Again, you don't have to stay home, right, to do this. Please go to work and do whatever you do, because that's where the stuff's going to arise. So you want to get out there, right? But what you want to do is, instead of the way we always do it, where we just go through our day unconsciously, right? We want to keep, maybe 10, 15, 20% just kind of self-awareness. That's all. Right? So, or maybe even 10%, it doesn't matter, depending on what's going on. So you're going through your day, but there's a little part of you that just kind of, you're kind of keeping an eye on Kate. It may not be all the time, but throughout the day, you're just kind of checking in. And so, see, we're retraining the mind. This takes time for us, because we're used to just going with it. So, so slowly you're beginning to get a little energized around, around this whole area of frustration and irritation. You're much more conscious of it throughout your day, and you're much more developing that muscle of kind of working with it. And again, the antidote to impatience or frustration, after a while you just can get it and let go, but when you're working on it is understanding. Because in most cases, something's just happening, right? That's all. Something's happening in life, somebody's doing something or not doing something, and there's a part of us that goes, what? Shouldn't be this way, right? Shouldn't be this way. Life shouldn't be proceeding this way, this shouldn't be happening, people shouldn't be acting this way. But there they are, right? It's like stupid, to be honest. Because here it's happening in reality right in front of us, and our mind is going, this shouldn't be happening, right? I'm stuck in, I'm in traffic, and my mind's going, this shouldn't be happening to me. That's crazy. Right? It's crazy. So the only thing that will reveal that is mindfulness will reveal it. And then, if Kate just stops 1 second and goes, what? Yeah. Is there traffic in life? Yeah. Am I the only car out here? No. Should everybody else not be on the road, but I should be allowed to be on the road? No. Some bad driver cuts you off. Are there not bad drivers out there? Yes. It's just the way the world is. So a moment of understanding, right? A moment of response to that irrational voice within us that's giving us the wrong message can immediately diffuse the irritation, right? And again, we do our best. We all have our own energies, and sometimes those energies are stronger than others. But over time, you will see it. It'll change.
So the one that's bigger than traffic is still
Well, again, you ever play a musical instrument?
not well.
All right, but you played what?
Piano.
You played the piano, of course. You didn't begin with pieces, you began with scales. You begin easy. So you begin with those, just your minor irritations. You're just attentive, and you get better at that, and that'll build that muscle. But it's hard for us to say. It's the same for the big stuff. The big stuff would be what? You don't have to go personal, but the big stuff might be what? Somebody, what? That really would see when you say big stuff. The big stuff might be what?
Things that might affect your life, major life decisions.
Right.
So the anxiety that comes with it.
Yeah, because what? Because you think you need to what? Control it all. Right? Right. Not only do you have to, not only are you in charge of, your own life, but you want to be in charge of how everybody else responds to it, and how life will unfold, right? And the mind will just go along with you and manufacture all kinds of scenarios. The truth is what? You don't have a clue how things are going to work out, do you? That's the truth. We don't have a clue. Unless you're a certified psychic, you got that certified psychic, diploma, and plus you have a good track record, right? Of I don't know what's a good track record for a psychic. I would hope at least 80% always being accurate in reading the future. The truth is, all you ever do is what? You're making an educated, hopeful guess about how things may or may not turn out. Is that true? Yes, and that's just the truth.
It's also incredibly scary.
Well, it's only scary if you think, what? Why is it scary? That's interesting. Kate says it's that knowing that we can't control outcome, and we really, all we can do is make an educated guess about how our decisions will play out in life. That's scary. Why is that scary? See, I think, you know what I think that is? I think that's wonderful. I think that makes life very open and interesting and, right? No? Could it be that way? Yeah, well, that's not fantastic. Right? Do you ever go to a baseball game? But you know about the sport. Right. the batter does not know what the pitcher is going to throw, right? I mean, if the pitcher, before he pitched, kind of telegraphed a message, this is the kind of pitch I'm throwing, this is exactly where he's going to go, would that be an interesting baseball game? No, what makes it interesting is what?
We bet for the batter, though.
We bet for the... Yeah. But would not be developing a great skill, would it? Would not be very skillful. Because then, anybody could develop that skill. So what makes it interesting and what makes it challenging is what? You don't know what the pitcher's going to throw, do you? All you know is what? All you can rely on is what? Yeah? All you can rely on is what? What? Yourself. Your own abilities, your own experience, your own skills, that you know what? That whatever is thrown at you, you will do your best to what? To deal with it. That's all. That's how simple it is. That's all.
What was I making?
Yeah. And again, batters keep coming up. So, you'll get another chance, another chance, another chance, and the next game you'll get another chance, you know what I mean? And that's just life, right? I mean, would you go to a sport where everything was programmed and the same people day after day? No. We'd say that is what? Boring. And if there's one thing Americans don't like is to be bored. One thing we hate is boredom. So, so this is why in cultivating factors of enlightenment, you are waking up your mind, right? And you're clearing of obscurations so you can just deal with life, intelligently, wisely, mindfully, compassionately. That's all. And you know that the ground of it all is what? Unpredictability. Right? Fundamental teaching of Buddha Dharma is what? Everything's impermanent. Nothing is stable. I mean, that's where Buddhism begins. Right? That's like one of the first things you encounter, right? Anicca. The whole thing's impermanent. Right? Everything's just arising according to causes and conditions. That's why we study and practice a spiritual tradition, a path, so we can deal with this world of groundlessness and unpredictability and change, with some stability that comes from an inner place. Right? Because if you're looking for the stability in an outer place, then you always have to resort to what you're talking about. Control, manipulation, anxiety, stress. See, that's the other way. See, there's like the way of enlightenment, the way of awakening, the way of liberation, the way of freedom, all these kinds of words that we hear over and over again. And then there's this other way, which in Buddhism is quite simply called the way of suffering. And all that stuff is on that path. Right? And then it's kind of simple. See, it's complicated if we think there are like 4,700 different paths and every situation's got to be dealt with differently and got to take a different teaching for that and a different teaching for that, and we're trying to remember which one should I be using in this one, and people get overwhelmed when they turn their spiritual life into kind of a series of techniques that you have to remember and think about. No, we just need a couple of ones that for everything. This is for everything. Right? So whether it's just the little frustrations, when things don't work, the grinder doesn't work, things like that, the big stuff. When something doesn't work in the kitchen, what do? Do you throw it against the wall? Right? When we're out of control, we do things like that, and we curse, and we act as if it's somehow a living thing, right? And we blame. But if we're somewhat rational, when something is not functioning in the kitchen, like a little appliance or something, we go what? Yeah, fix it, replace it, do something else. Yeah. But there are people who go bananas over little things like that, right? I mean, there are a lot of people who are very angry. They have a lot of ill will, and they take it out on inanimate objects, they take it out even on their loved ones, right? But again, what is the source of that violence? What is the source of that aggression? It's anger. It's ill will. And underneath that, there's more stuff. So you want to peel it back this way. Right? We want to peel it back this way. Instead, we're always peeling it back that way. But here's the problem. So curiosity, interest, right? Creativity, right? Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen, but whatever happens, I'll deal with it, and hopefully my mind will be clear, and because you know what? At the end of the day, that's what you're going to do anyhow, aren't you? Because even though you may think you're a total control freak and that you can figure it all out and have everything in place, it still won't be that way, will it? Will it? See, it still won't be that way. So it's in your right mind, you know that. So why go through all that work and all that stress on something that's fundamentally flawed? So this is an example of what? Diligence. If we don't want to suffer from our habitual ways of doing things, then we have to be energetic in our healing and transformation. That's why this energy, which manifests as kind of a discipline, which means what? Discipline means what? I am in control of my energies. Right? And I can put my energies where I want it if I want to get a certain result. Again, we know how to do that at work. We know how to do that in studies. We know how to do it other ways. But again, when it comes to this most essential piece, because it is our happiness and unhappiness is in our minds. Our emotionality is all in our minds. Does anybody disagree with me? I mean, I know it sounds so simple, but we live our lives as if that's not true. Because we always are holding other people and external situations for how we're feeling or how we're acting. We're always, So it's easy to pay lip service to this. But we really need to come to terms, right? And if we are really, really interested in this process of self-transformation, if we really believe that, we can be free. We can live free of anxiety, free of fear, free of stress, free of anger, free of sad. I mean, that, it's capable. We are, all human beings are capable of living free of this. And more importantly, we are, all of us have the capability and potential of manifesting, happiness, well-being, ease, equanimity, etc. Then it's clear. And the question is, which path am I going to work? When? Moment to moment. In other words, our lives unfolds in reality, whether we're home, whether we're with people, with our families, our friends, we're at work, wherever we are, this is our life. And the question is, which path am I going to walk right now? And the interesting thing is when you begin to look at life this way and you see the positive results you get when you put your energy in one direction, and what are the results when I'm putting all this energy in another direction, that should then kind of energize us more for pursuing a path that really has the capacity of making us happy and making others happy. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what all of us want. I mean, human beings, they want to be happy. They want everybody, they want their friends and their family to be happy. Ultimately, they'd like to live at peace with the people they live with. They'd like to live in a peaceful society, right? I mean, that's really the human case. So we need a way of going about it and a commitment to it. So Labor Day. This is a good labor. And again, the wonderful thing about what we're talking about here is you don't have to quit your job. You don't have to, quit your relationships. You can do it right in the context of the way you're living your life right now. But you're just cultivating these factors of awakening rather than these factors of affliction. So good. We'll stop here.